My parents sold my sister to a pray the gay away camp using my money. Now, we're planning our escape plan. When I was growing up, my parents were semi-religious and not particularly invested in it or politics. Somewhere in the last 3 or 4 years, they became interested in it, and in the last year in particular, they have become some of the most religious and over-focused political people I've ever seen. Growing up, I was not close to my younger sister, mainly because of our age gap. However, she has grown up and is very pleasant to speak to. On her 16th birthday, she came out to them. My dad, a week later, called me over the phone. He said that he was sick and needed emergency money to have a procedure. He begged me not to tell Mom or my sister. He needed about 20 grand. About another week after that, my sister stopped calling me. I was worried. I called my parents and asked about her after about a week, and they said she was being moody. I checked my Facebook that night, and I read a day-old message from one of her friends that explained that she had been trying to reach me, and that my sister was taken from her house into a van and driven off by men in a program with her and my parents there before kicking the friend out of the house. Her friend visited my parents' house several times, and they eventually told her they sent her to a religious program. She didn't get the name. I called up my father, and he denied it twice before admitting it after a long talk. I was so angry. I didn't think it had anything to do with the money, but I looked it up after that, and found out that these programs are generally very expensive. I called him up again, and he admitted that's where the money went. I demanded that he let her out, and he told me it was his money. I told him I'd never speak to him again, and he just ignored me. I tried calling him up every few hours for the last several days when I found out, and they ignored almost all of my calls. I don't even know if she is in the US anymore. Update, 2 days later. Last night I left home and drove to them. I drove back to my father's home and told him I would give him my remaining savings, around 65,000, but I lied and said 55,000 so I'd have something if he took her out of the camp and let her live with me. I was amazed that he would even consider it, because I always considered him such a high moral figure, but he stepped in the room with my mother for 5 minutes and said yes, but only if I did not involve the police. I told him he would need to sign a contract and wait a few days, and he told me he may not have an issue with that, needs to think, but did not want her legally in my name, but she can live with me, because he doesn't want to be on the bill for child support. I wanted to spit in his face, but I refrained. Final update, 25 days later. I did not give my father any money, and we both ended up pretending that I never offered the money, and that he never theoretically accepted it. I found out the camp she was staying in, and it was one of the described religious therapy camps several states away. I found several horror stories online from people who have attended this camp, and I showed it to Mom and Dad, and found a sympathetic religious figure from the community they both respected, and I convinced them, after much struggling, to go pick her up with me. We did, and ended up flying there and picking her up with a lot of trouble. They didn't want to let me in at all, and took an extremely long time letting her see us, which made my parents very, very mad, and my parents were very upset about the small parts of the facility we were allowed to see. They told us our sister would lie, and that they should go without seeing her, which made them madder. I thought we were going to have to call the police, but we eventually got her out after many hours spent there. I was nervous she would yell at them, but she knew to pretend she had changed, without me needing to tell her. She is back home for several days. My parents are pretending they were tricked into the place being a 4-star resort, and are laughing the whole thing off, like they are equal victims in this. And this was all a wacky adventure where they stole my money and sent my sister to an abusive gay prison. My sister and I have discussed it privately, and we've agreed that she will not make any waves until 18, and then she can live with me during college. Sadly, we still have 2 years until then. I despise my parents, and cannot say a thing to them, which is infuriating. I hate their hypocrisy and BS, but we both have to swallow it for the moment. I am finished with them completely, and plan never to speak to them again after she is 18.